Здравствуйте! My name is Natalia Lomeiko. I'm one of the winners of the Michael Hill International Violin Competition, and I'm here today to talk to you about a particular piece that is very dear to my heart, the Canzonetta, the second movement of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto. I will play the beginning for you, just to show you how it starts. And so the second phrase starts over here. Now, you would be probably surprised to know that Tchaikovsky wrote an entirely different movement to start with, which we now know as the Meditation, from the three pieces that he wrote for his friend. And that piece was thought to be too emotionally charged and too long, perhaps, especially given that the first movement of the concerto is so long and challenging and full of passion and virtuosity and dynamics. So Tchaikovsky thought to scrap the Meditation and replace it with something a little bit more simple and more compact in its form. That's why we have the opening phrase that later comes back with slightly different accompaniment. So even the opening of the concerto is always written in piano. He even puts a suggestion to wear the mute, which is great as long as the mute you are using, perhaps a wooden one, projects well in the hall. Now, interestingly enough, I recently discovered that the opening of the violin line in this movement probably comes from his melody, which is called the Old French Song, from his children's album for the piano, which actually goes very similarly, if you hear the notes, to the second movement that we know in the violin concerto, so something like this. And so the piece actually uses exactly the same key and the same notes at the beginning of the Old French Song, which apparently was sung by Tchaikovsky's nanny, who was teaching him when he was little as well. And as you see, the melody is the same, only 3/4. And the same harmonic progression and so on. And I think it gives a great feeling of a singing kind of tone that we need to aspire to achieve in this melody. The bow, we need to really pay attention, so it is almost endless. We're creating a bow that basically never stops. So even when we finish the first phrase, and the cello and the violins are now coming in quavers, we are still moving all through the bow, creating a very smooth bow connection between all the notes to show that the melody is very long. It is a very typical quality in Tchaikovsky's music to use a constant vibrato, constant bow, to produce a very long line. Now, the middle section is something very different. It is in a relative major key. We have the E flat major, and we need a totally different perspective from the bow arm. We need a lot more air, a lot more vibrato to create a fresher and perhaps more youthful and positive outlook. So we can combine the faster vibrato and faster bow to create that character. Now the use of triplets here. Tchaikovsky's writing always gives and adds a little bit of freedom, so we can make them tiny bit more rubato, which will bring back the melody on a new level. So we lead up to it again. And back to triplet. Again, we now need to follow the harmonic progression of the orchestra and react to different harmonies. How do we react? We listen whether the harmony is open, positive, happy, sad, intense, and we use different bow techniques, slower speed. You can search a little bit from what you are hearing to react in your playing. And what is amazing is that the theme from the beginning comes back with slight variation. So we have now like an improvisatory quality all the time. So written out, which I suggest we take not quite literally as da 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 da, the very strict triplet rhythm, but make again quite a bit of flexibility in the bar. Now about the trill and the ending, this is the way it is written out. However, as a performer, we can make the ending of that bar quite free and vary its freedom, shall we say, its amount of time. So one time we can actually do it right in tempo, so something like this, 2, 3, because Tchaikovsky writes out a natural ritenuto. Another time we can perhaps, especially the last time it happens, I do it on the D string, so almost sit on the trill for as long as you can in the middle of the bow. And then to grow from nothing into a massive crescendo again. Now this B flat. Very often performers are a little bit scared to get to that B flat on the A string. I suggest to pay more attention to the bow arm at this point and slow the speed of your bow in order to control the shifts better. So nobody in the audience will notice this, but I hear the approach to the B flat and only then move the bow freely once I have arrived. Thus guaranteeing safe arrival, shall we say. Yeah, so again, slow bow, slowing down, and then move. I create a contrast here before really finally opening the phrase. And full bow. to the orchestra that continue the chorale-like chords that came at the beginning of the movement. And I strongly recommend practicing with almost no vibrato from the beginning of the melody to the very end, in order to even out the bow and then add the vibrato on top of that, in order to make sure that you are treasuring each moment of each note, so it doesn't, the sound doesn't die. So very often the students do this. So I hear a lot of sort of sighing, but instead really try to make a longer phrase, and the music will thank you for it. Now, I think that's all the time we have just to cover very basic things about this movement. Please follow me on Instagram, Natalia Lomeiko Violin, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please.